Extra.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to...
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Well, good morning and welcome to UBC TV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka on another very lovely day. It is the 25th of July in this year 2022. Thank you so much. Now we're counting down to the very final days of the first month of the financial year, and of course the 7th month of this year 2022, and of course welcoming you back from the GMU agenda with the man Kirabo, Nyonyintono and Felix Nkonda, now getting into the other businesses. Now joining me today is Mr. Benson Turamye, the Executive Director of the PPDA. You're very welcome, Ndugu Mr. Benson Turamye.
Thank you, Jagenda, and good morning, viewers.
The Ndugu one is, I think, is very common to everybody. So, and of course, the Honorable Uganda made it very common to Ugandans. Ndugu, and of course, everybody knows Ndugu is a comrade. But I'm happy to see you after a very long while. How is PPDA?
PPDA is fine. We are moving on well. Procurement is going on well. No more bad stories about public procurement, so we just got our budget recently, and of course we into that first phase of the first quarter of the financial year 2023 2023. And well, did you get enough money as a PPDA to start with to know that it can actually help you manage and do what you're supposed to be delivering? No, they will never be enough. But we are happy we got a budget. If it is disbursed as budgeted, we should be able to do most of our work plan activities.
It is one thing to look at the figures in the budget, and another thing for the disbursements to make sure that the money gets to the user departments.
That is the biggest challenge, because budgets are approved, but then when it comes to releases, it depends on revenue collections. And if the revenue collections are poor, then you don't expect, there will be a lot of budget cuts, and that is what actually most people don't understand. You'll find your budget is 20 billion, but you get like 60% of that 20 billion, and therefore you can't achieve all the planned activities in that financial year. So that is the biggest challenge. But generally, our budget was is adequate for the planned activities. The only trouble is the releases, because like this quarter, you would expect like 25% in a quarter, but I think we got, I would say for non-wage and development, we got almost zero. Because
for non-wage?
For non-wage and capital development, we only got 100% of wage and gratuity. So I will pay salary, but people will not work because they can't go to the field. We can't pay service providers, and all our capital development active plans have to be on hold for now till we get the visas.
Okay, we will get into all this conversation and talk about sustainable procurement for service delivery. But in your thinking and all the time that you've been at the authority and at PPDA, or procurement, public procurement as it is, it's called public procurement. Yes. Do you think the public understands procurement? Do they even understand what happens? Because
to deliver services, and to deliver services, then you have to use procurement. Therefore, procurement becomes a vehicle service delivery. And when we budget, like you started, money is provided for in the budget, provide works, and we are talking about public works. We are talking about roads, we are talking about public buildings, we are talking about irrigation systems, we are talking about water systems. If National Water, for example, is building a Katosi water system, that is a public procurement. They go through public procurement processes to deliver that Katosi water system. If we talk about rehabilitations of roads and whatever, renovations, all those are public works. And when we come to goods or supplies, if National Medical Stores is buying medicines, if the army is buying uniforms, if government is buying vehicles, if we are buying computers, if we are buying furniture for government, so those are goods and supplies, or goods stroke supplies. If we services, and in this area we have consultant services, and consultant services I think is very clear. If Auditor General, for example, is recruiting auditors, private auditors, if you want to do designs of roads, you want to do supervision of roads using private companies, then those are consultant services. But there are also non-consultant services that the government procures. For example, if we are procuring cleaning services, security services, those are non-consultant services. So all that is where government spends money, then it becomes public procurement in that sense. So the process doesn't only involve acquisition, but it also goes through the cycle. You start from identifying requirements, and these are actually identified by specific government entities that are going to use those services or to implement those services. They have to put them in the procurement plans, which are approved and shared with the public now. They have then to call for bids. It could be open competitive bidding, it could be restricted bidding, it could be selective bidding, depending on the values, the thresholds of what they are procuring. Then when you receive these bids, you evaluate them, you award them, you then sign contracts and implement the contracts and also do the payment. So all of that is public procurement, the whole procurement cycle, the whole cycle. Others, people think that when you receive, then you have stopped there. But even contract implementation, contract monitoring, contract execution, and payment is the cycle of public procurement. Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Now, there are lots of innovations, of course, that have come over the period of time with the public procurement. The EGP being one of those. And now you have some new product on board, the ESHS. But just before you get into the conversation of the environmental health, the social services bit in there, how has the EGP by itself helped you get there? How is it being understood? How is it working? And looking at it, where do we see it also help in achieving the new product on board, the ESHS?
The ESHS, environment, social health and safety parameters, is part of sustainable procurement. And when we talk about sustainable procurement, is how do you, the ability to maintain the products that you have delivered through public procurement. And how do you safeguard against, first of all, environment, then health, then safety and social. And when we are talking about EGP, electronic government procurement, which is the automation of the whole process, first of all, it is an element also of sustainable public procurement, because first of all, you are removing paperwork, and you know where paper comes from. Paper comes from wood mainly. Therefore, if you are removing this paperwork and the whole environment of having box files and the whole place being loaded, flooded with papers, and then you are having a clean procurement process. And this process, this automation of the procurement process becomes a part of sustainable procurement. Where we are, in 2021, July, we started with piloting in 11 procuring entities. And in October, still 2021, we added 14 after getting assurance that the piloting has actually succeeded. Then we added 14, and in that financial year that ended in June this year, we were at 25. This financial year, we are already in induction of the new entities that we have identified. There are 50. That will take us, by the end of this financial year, 2022-2023, we'll be at 75. What that means exactly is that procurement becomes transparent, more transparent, and also we believe with EGP there will be proper accountability and old trail in that whatever action that is done on EGP can be trailed, even as with a regulator like PPDA. But more important is the trust and the efficiency levels that the bidders are going to attain through automation. You are not going to run from Europe or from Nairobi to come and submit a bid. When you are registered on EGP, you can always get red flags, notifications that an opportunity has come up in a given ministry. You are not going to go printing and photocopying and submitting hard copies. A bidding document, you will just see it on your computer, study it, and if you have the requirements that are needed, then you can submit a bid, including evaluation. We have been having serious issues in evaluation because the evaluation is decided by an entity, and you find people that are competent to do evaluation have their core activities, core mandates, not necessarily in that area where they are evaluating. They are in the field. You want an engineer who is now supervising a road work, but you want this engineer to be on the evaluation team. This time, even when you are away, when you are even traveled, you can still do your evaluation on your laptop, and then the results are shared. So the delays that we have been struggling with in public procurement are going to be no more, because they want to be an excuse. You can't even evaluate, because the current way of doing it has been that you get into a room, all of you get all these documents there, then you start analyzing them against the criteria that is required. But this time, and also some of the preliminary requirements will be generated, system generated, evaluated. Because if someone is not eligible, definitely the system will knock them off. Also because of the system integration, because this system is going to be integrated with the tax system at URA, will be integrated with the NIRA system, with URSB, Uganda Registration Service Bureau, with NSSF. So therefore, those you are not going to check whether someone has paid taxes. If he has not, is not tax compliant, the system would have knocked that person out. So it is going to be easier and also more transparent, more fair. People are not going to complain, those who have been complaining that maybe my document has been pulled off the bid. And it becomes, even when they complain to PPDA, it becomes now is one against the other one. How do you prove actually that the document was pulled out of the bid? But now, because of the audit trail of the system, if there is any tampering of someone's document, you can easily know it. The assurance, also the safety of the system, is that when you submit a bid, it will be locked till the bid opening. You can only unlock it. Someone can, the entity or anybody else, even PPD.
Have we been unlocking them before?
Yes, now currently it's a envelope lock. Because when you submit your bid, you should tighten it so that nobody can open it before the bid opening. So at the bid opening, which is usually public, then you have someone has to display his bid. The one managing the bid opening, who is usually head PDU, procurement and disposal unit, and say, this is Mr. Jagenda's bid.
And this is what it is.
This is how it is. Then you observe and see that actually it is sealed as you submitted it. Then they usually get the scissors, cut the seals, and then
like UNEP does to us when they bring their papers.
Yes, yeah, that's how it has been. But in the system, it will be system lock, and you have the key, the person who has submitted the bid, and then at the bid opening, the key opens, and then that is when you can access all the bids. And at that particular point, you even know how many people have submitted the bid, their prices that are as read out, and also if someone has submitted the bid security, if it is required, those key requirements are known at that point. For example, if a bid security was required and one has not submitted it, then automatically you know that that one is disqualified. So that is the beauty of EGP. It is going to contribute a lot to sustainable procurement, but also bring in play transparency, fairness, and we believe there will be also more competition, and more competition also delivers value for money in public procurement.
Very, very important, Mr. Benson Turami. But you know, when we talk about public procurement, we tend to see it from a different angle. We are procuring for public works or for public services, for public consultancies, etc. When we talk about environmental, social, health, and safety guidelines or precautions or principles embedded therein, somebody would want to, and I don't care even when you ever emphasize that, environment in procurement, social in procurement, health in procurement, just to understand this new product in there, the ESHS, and what it is in procurement for the wananchi to actually comprehend and understand it.
First of all, when His Excellency the President assented to the amendment of the PPD Act,
the most recent,
on 2nd June 2021, there is a provision which was not there before on sustainable procurement, specifically Section 61A. And we want to appreciate that that provision was accepted. And
it's a section that comes with in the amendment. It wasn't in the old law.
No, it wasn't. Okay. Yeah. So, as the implementers now of PPDA, we have to effectively to make sure that that is done. And more importantly is what you are talking about, environment. To what extent do public works, do public goods affect our environment? Because if you are not going to sustain the ecological system, or the ecosystem, then you are going to affect the organisms with the organism's relationship with the physical environment. And if you affect this ecosystem, then maybe you can't sustain the future. Because the projects that we are doing, social economic projects or contracts, call them whatever you want to call them, they must live together with the environment. I will give you an example. You want to put roads, but you are destroying all the swamps, you are destroying all the forest, you are leaving barrow pits, barrow pits where you are excavating marram, and you are causing accidents. All these, if we don't put them into consideration, then the project you are doing or the contract itself is not sufficient.
And not environmentally friendly.
They are not environmentally friendly. You are going to have a smooth road, but how many people are going to lose their lives because of that smooth road? Yes, you have delivered the road, we are happy. But to what extent have we affected the ecosystem? And that's what we are talking about. Number two, you have seen, and I will essentially zero on using roads, because those are the ones we do a lot. On safety, those are the accidents I'm talking about. But also during construction, maybe all the workers that have been on that road have gone home sick because of the pollution, the fuel pollution, the air pollution, the dust, even where you are passing, you are causing havoc. Whom are you doing these projects for? You are doing these projects for the citizens to enjoy. But before you leave, everybody is sick. So it is not sustainable. On social, you heard about the tree in Mpigi, where people were saying these are our...
Nabukaru, it's actually my clan. So
that is your clan.
Talk about it very carefully. Nabukaru is my clan.
Yeah, people have their beliefs. Now you are going to destroy their beliefs. They know this is to survive. We have every day to go and
get some blessings.
And get blessings. And for you say, no.
We need the road here.
Yeah, but the socially you are affecting everybody around those who are believing in such. But also you have seen where the operators go in villages, they take away people's wives, and you bring chaos in society. People will never appreciate this government project. But again, I think you also know that when you are doing a government project, you have to put on those safety measures, the wires, but also we have young girls who abandon schools, they go with these contractors, and one time there was something on social media where a young child resembled a Chinese, and someone was appreciating.
It wasn't photoshopped.
Yeah, so
someone was appreciating having a good Chinese boss.
Yeah. So these are the things that we have to deal with, because these projects must be appreciated. But also, if we go to goods, for example, supplies, you procure computers, they are all flooded in government offices, but when it comes to disposal, where do you dispose them? You procure drugs, some drugs actually, all medicines are not used. They reach a level, they expire, where are you going to put them? So this is the whole thing. So we are saying, when you are going to do a public procurement, you must integrate environment, health, social, and safety
guidance,
safeguards.
Okay.
And we have gone ahead to issue a standard bidding document. Standard bidding documents is a mandate of the PPDA. We issue them, and therefore we have incorporated those parameters on those 4 elements, and then when a PDE is procuring any service, they have to make sure that that party is also evaluated and also costed by the bidder, so that they are implemented during contract implementation. Our role, again, of course, when ESHS is incorporated in the contract, then the role of PPDA and also the executing entity is to monitor implementation. Because before, they would talk about them, but they are not costed. But this time they are costed.
The ESHS.
ESHS. And also you have to show experience and also show the management plan, how you are going actually to do them. And then we are able to monitor them as the authority and they should confirm that actually you implemented them. And if we find that actually you have not, we can give you penalties. Okay. There is also provision of performance security as part of performance of the contract. If you don't implement those requirements of ESHS, then your performance security can be
just before we take a break, Mr. Turami, normally when we do these public projects, there is an EIA that we normally carry out. Where does that now, where does this now leave it? Because normally when we're doing a road, building a dam, doing all the things, we normally have to give an impact assessment on the environment before that project is done. We're now seeing it again being incorporated in procurement. What does that mean now? You've talked about, of course, the new component that I've had here is costing it, but there's not a single product or program or project that we do without ensuring and issuing an EIA.
Now, the environmental impact assessment has been done especially for large government projects. Okay, projects, yes. If you are talking about building a dam, they will do that.
An express highway, this road, that road.
Yes. And provide mitigation measures. However, these like feasibility study. If you are going to do a dam, you do a feasibility study and say this project is viable.
In this area?
Yeah, in this area, because it is going to deliver this. We are going to put in this cost and the economic return, the internal rate of return is this. Okay. The discount, that internal rate of return is going to measure viability. And then from the beginning, you know that the impact on environment is this, and these are the proposed mitigation measures. And it stops there. But when it comes to actual procurement, then you should put out these environmental mitigation measures and then incorporate it in the bidding document. That could be the starting point where the environmental impact assessment has been done. The moment you leave them as an independent component outside that, then it will never be implemented. Because yes, you have seen the environmental issues, but now you need to say in the bidding document, these are the environmental issues that must be addressed.
And that's why the costing bit also comes in, because you're procuring.
Yes, because you are procuring, then you cost it.
You cost it.
But you, in terms of evaluation, you need also to assess this bidder, whether actually he has capacity to address these issues. If he doesn't have a capacity to address the issues, then at that point, this bidder is unsuccessful. That is the purpose of now pulling them into the bidding process.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Trami. I will take a break and return, carry on with the conversation, talking about public procurement and, of course, a sustainable procurement for service delivery. And my guest in studio this morning is the ED of the PPDA, Mr. Benson Turame. It is a Good Morning Uganda extra program. We'll take a break and return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals, out-of-this-world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Gold TV. Love it.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello, this is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Congratulations. Oh, one good day.
Good day? But I haven't entered any competition.
Owadechi, since you use your phone every day, we have randomly selected you as one of our loyal customers, and you have won a brand new pickup.
Hey, so how do I get this pickup?
The pickup is in Namave. All we have to do is quickly bring it to you. You know, we are delivering many of them. So, just send us 100k for fuel via mobile money, and we'll bring it to you.
But Chief, I'm in no hurry to receive it. Namambe is just here. Keep it at your warehouse, give me directions, and I will take time to pick it up.
Vow nawe. If you don't have money, just say.
Tonfera, never send money to strangers. Winners of competitions are contacted through official channels and are never asked to pay for anything. Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tonfera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by UCC, MTN, Airtel, Bank of Uganda, and NPSP Association.
Nivana wafe twenywele, nivana wafe twenywele, nivana wafe tunyola. Eish, 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 eish. Nivana wafe tunyola. For more goals, okumala kenyonta.
Nirvana packaged drinking water is a product of Crown Beverages Limited, makers of Pepsi products. That's life. That's Nirvana.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly, or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard super easy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Very much. Once again, welcome back from that short break. My name is Jagen Asemakola Ziksoka with Mr. Benson Tuyame, the Executive Director of PPDA, here with me talking about public procurement, sustainable public procurement for service and delivery. And of course, PPDA here is also promoting and talking about marketing to the public a new product that is the environmental, social, health and safety procedures or guidelines that they also launched to ensure that work gets better and better every time. Mr. Turami, welcome back from the break. And of course, I continue with this. Who is responsible for enforcing and ensuring ESHS at procurement, at the authority?
First of all, we could say there are mainly three players for enforcement. And the first player is the procuring and disposing entity itself. Because, you know, procurement was decentralized in 2003. And every government entity does the procurement themselves, right from the initiation up to contract execution and completion. The law, again the PPDA, requires that each contract, every contract should have a contract manager appointed by the accounting officer. So every contract manager has terms of reference when ensuring that the contract is properly executed by the contractor. Therefore, and reports back. This contract manager has to keep reporting back to the contracts committee of the entity to confirm that there is smooth running of the contract. Therefore, the terms or the ESHS the initiatives or the activities that are going to be implemented, which are in the contract manager must ensure that they are implemented and executed. And actually, if it has also the cost element, you are saying restore the border pit. The restoration requires this amount. Then it becomes as part of the interim payment certificate by the contractor. If we are saying here you destroyed this forest, restore the forest, plant trees, or plant trees along all the road works in order to avoid pollution in terms of noise and dust to all those who are along the road. Then this contract manager must ensure that there is execution. But the second player is the contractor himself or herself, because the contractor is the one who is actually implementing. And therefore he has to implement what has been provided for in the contract in terms of ESHS. If they say everybody on site must have dust masks, must have headgears and boots and what, you have to provide for them. Then the contract manager must ensure that these are done. But at PPDA, we also have a role of contract monitoring. Contract monitoring, we have a whole department, performance monitoring, which should move into the contract, could be impromptu visits, and confirm that, or after actually the contract, we do procurement audits or performance audits. Someone should go there and say, these were the ones planned to be done, they were done, or they were not done. If they were not done, then punitive measures are put, and the contractor, first of all, should lose the performance security, and usually it is 10% of the contract. If you are doing a 100 billion contract and you have failed to do ESHS, you can lose that 10%, which is 10 billion. We can also punish this contractor for failure on the obligations in the contract. Actually, it is a suspension cause If someone fails on his or her obligations in the contract, it is one of under Section 94 of the PPD Act. It can cause for suspending this provider for never participating in a public procurement for a given period. So 3 players, contract managers,
the contractor themselves,
the contractor, and then PPDA,
the authority.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at ESHS as if it's, for example, at the URA, that you're trying to address and solve a problem here by saying, let's do electronic receipting and invoicing to make sure that we possibly minimize the flows here or there to run after Benson or Semakola, etc. But I'm also looking at many of the issues that you're addressing, and I'm seeing the guidelines in public procurement. What has it been before? Because when you talk about safety measures, we know that when we are building a road or a bridge or a dam or anything, we are supposed to enforce safety precautions. Headgears, maybe the masks, the gumboots, the gloves, etc., etc. All these things are supposed to be there, because I don't want to think it's now the PPD law that is actually asking us to do all the things. And I'm trying to think in the spirit of Section 61 of the new yes, the new law that we just adopted recently or got recently. What has been the procedure, or what has it been? Why is this in here? What problem is it solving? What did you look at and say there is an impending problem here that we think it should be? My only challenge is implementation, because I do not want a situation where somebody will say, okay, PPDA demands for this, but then there's somebody who is supposed to look at our safety. There is somebody who is supposed to look at environment, for example. The Minister of Environment should be concerned about all the things that, yes, our government has procured, they've gazetted the road corridor that will run for so many kilometers, but in that road corridor, there will be, of course, a lot of the ecosystem that will be disorganized. So the ministry has to have a department or have people who are managing and doing that. But then again, there is PPDA, and we've had these issues. We talk about rationalization now of IMDAs. Why? Because we see a duplication of roles, and at the end of the day, we find ourselves not even doing anything, because I am thinking PPD is supposed to do that, PPD is thinking environment is supposed to do that, environment is thinking so and so is supposed to be that. So it comes back to implementation. This particular problem that you saw and said it should be responded to by the new PPD Act.
First of all, each of us, each government department is supposed to do their role. Because when you go to NEMA, for example, and you are a contractor, you are given a certificate, an environmental impact assessment certificate. And that's good enough. Even NEMA may monitor and say there is destruction of environment. They have a bigger role. But here we are talking about a contract.
Okay.
We are talking about a specific contract. First of all, there was no legal requirement in the PPD Act that we must address sustainability in public procurement. Now it is a requirement. What that means that I can use the PPD Act on this contractor even to prosecute the contractor for breach of that provision. The second issue where you wouldn't say NEMA is not involved is at the bidding process. Because at the bidding process, we are saying these are requirements that should be met as you submit your bid. Do you have experience in environmental, health, safety, and social management? Have you ever done it? Because NEMA is not at evaluation. We are talking about now entity having an evaluation team. You can incorporate an environmentalist. And unfortunately, most government entities don't have this this person. If you go like an accountant or a procurement officer, if you go to most of these entities and you ask for an environment officer, you will not get them. And one of the requirements that we are emphasizing for the contractor to have is that you must have an environmental expert on your team. You must have a social gender expert on your team, which has not been the case before. Because if you are going to do a road, they have been asking about the team leader, an engineer, an architect, maybe a quantity surveyor and what have you. But this time we are saying one of the personnel that this contractor should have is an environmentalist and a sociologist as a requirement. And these must be evaluated because these are their expertise. Therefore, during implementation, they should be able to implement those elements. Again, before, now, if something is not contracted, even if NEMA comes on board, they will never do it. There will be no contracts. Yeah, because you will say, you have not restored this barrel pit, but it was not part of my contract. You have not built along the road, maybe the trees, planted trees in the reserve, beautification or whatever.
It wasn't in the contract?
It wasn't in the contract. So this time, it must be contracted and must be implemented. So really, we are complementing to the DEMA or the environmental ministry agenda and mandate in terms of contracting and executing the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is this in play already?
Yes.
Have you started using it? And is it already there? And how are they finding it? Because we also need feedback from them. You know, I talked about IFRIS. When IFRIS just came, of course, it had its own issues. But of course, we needed to later know how is that electronic invoicing and receipting happening, and how is it working, and the response from the people, how are they finding it? Is it making business harder, or it's actually making business simpler, easier, quicker for all of us, and of course also yielding for the revenue collections? Similarly to the SHS, if it is in there, I hope it's not disenfranchising anybody to say we'll be doing this program or project, but the challenge is we've not had a certified or we've not had an evaluated environmentalist or a sociologist, etc. Are you using it already, and what's the feedback like?
I told you the law was accepted in June 2021 and gazetted on 2nd July 2021.
Which is just 1 year ago.
Yeah, 1 year ago. And immediately the bidding document, the standard bidding document,
incorporated it. And those parameters have been evaluated. Okay. The standard bidding document, if Arua is say procuring roadworks, UNRA, Solo, Cotido, we are using the same standard bidding. And it is not retrogressive. It is. We're not using it retrogressive.
No. It has going forward.
It starts from the asset,
going forward.
The Gazette.
Yeah, we have drawn a plan for this financial year, 2022-2023, and one of the elements that we are going to audit is ESHS. So 1 year under implementation, we are going to assess and see where, to what extent it has been implemented. But the beauty with it is that it is even self-accounting
and self-evaluating.
Yes, because if it is part of the contract, you have to implement it. If you don't implement it, then first of all, you are in breach. And remember, there is a 10% of your performance which is in terms of financial, then you lose it. You lose it. So even the entities, we believe it's like part of the contract. It is integrated in the contract, and therefore it should be easy to monitor and enforce, even by the entities themselves. When they are doing payments, first of all, they evaluate whether you have implemented what you have implemented in the contract, and then pay you according to what you have implemented. And since it has also a financial attachment, the contractors will definitely implement it. But can come back in due course after we have done the audits and the evaluation of the implementation, and then give you feedback, especially in those areas. But we have gone ahead to sensitize and build the capacity of those who are going to use, especially the local government entities, because they were getting challenges on how to evaluate those parameters of environment and health and social safeguards.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Turami. Very finally, in 1 minute, your final comments on our conversation and sustainable procurement, just before we get out of studios.
Oh, I thought we still have time, because I want to emphasize one other thing of sustainable procurement. This is the local content. In terms of sustainability of our socio-economic development, we have also to use our local providers. Otherwise, you are going to rely on foreign providers. Suppose they leave. How do you sustain socio-economic development of the contract? These contracts must be, there is deliberate effort. It was also actually put in the amendment of the law.
I was actually going to ask that, and if that provides for it, then I think we are on the right track.
It is provided for, that we support and reserve some contracts to our local providers, and also provide preference schemes. I want to call upon the procuring and disposing entities, our partners, to make sure that the sustainable procurement is enforced and implemented in whole. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Benson Turami, the Executive Director of PPDA. Well, I really very much want to thank you for having allowed to join us, and of course for being with us here today. Well, I just want to know whether David was actually asking me for anything here. But I don't think he's asked me anything very peculiar or special. But I thank you so much for making it here today, and for being part of our Good Morning Uganda extra conversation. And the emphasis, of course, should be on sustainable procurement. We need to be here and procure, of course, for generations and generations to come. The Greek have a very common proverb that says a society grows when the older persons of that society plant trees under whose shades they don't expect to sit. So if you plant a tree and you want to sit under that tree, then it's also sustainable. Plant a tree not knowing who will actually ever sit there or will enjoy the benefits of that tree, but plant it. That's sustainability. Thank you, Mr. Benson Turami, ED of PPDA. My name is Jagen Semakola Ziksoka. We'll talk again tomorrow. For God and my country, stay blessed, and good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.